Hi.
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 Hello.
I'm curious about
building open, authentic, loving relationship.
I'm curious about jealousy.
I'm curious about polyamory.
Does it just mean that you're fucking all the time?
How can I tell my parents that my partner is already married?
I'm curious about
how do you know when you're too busy to have another relationship?
I'm curious about dominant and subordinate relationships.
I'm curious about sexual health.
How can relationships evolve with people as they grow and change?
And I had to go through that process to understanding, like, okay, who is in alignment with me? What type of sexual partners do I want? And I noticed that since putting more intention into that, my vulva has been a lot more receptive and happy with who I've been choosing. And I can actually feel into her a lot more now. So like, if I'm about to have sex with someone, I can feel when my vulva is like, fuck yes, like let's have sex with this person.
Welcome to the Curious Fox podcast. For those challenging the status quo in love, sex, and relationships. My name is Effy Blue. And today, I'm joined by a friend of the Fox whom we love having on the show again and again.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Silva. I am a bisexual, polyamorous sexual empowerment coach, sex educator, first generation Latina, and full-time digital nomad. I empower you to embrace your sexual essence and lead a pleasure-filled life.
And we are talking about Yoni gazing. Yoni is a Sanskrit word for the vulva. And although it sounds grand, Yoni gazing is the simple act of looking at your vulva with a mirror. Although simple, of course, it's not easy for many women with all the taboos and the stigmas and the comments and the legislation that we internalize throughout our lives. Some women spend their entire lifetime without really getting to know their vulvas, without fully connecting to their bodies, without understanding the anatomy of their pleasure, their life force, their power.
So I was working at an adult store in Los Angeles, and this woman walks in. So I was 23, this woman walks in, and she couldn't have been younger than 55, right? She was an older woman, maybe even in her 60s. And she walks in and she's a Spanish-speaking woman, Latina. And in Spanish, she asks me, she says, I just got a new boyfriend. He has a really high stamina. I would really love to, keep up with him, but I don't know how. Is there something that I can purchase that can help me keep up with my boyfriend's high stamina? So I was like, oh, do you want like a toy? And she goes, no, I don't want to use a toy. She's like, do you have like a lubricant or just something that's going to help me keep up with him? And I was thinking about it and I said, oh, what about an arousal cream? I was like, okay, so let's look at the clitoral cream. So I start explaining the clitoral creams. This is what it does. You put it on the clitoris, giving her all the information. And she looks at me like if I'm speaking Chinese. And she's like, what's that word you keep saying? Like, she's so confused. And I was like, I was confused, right? Because I didn't know what word I was saying that was confusing. And I said, cream? I was like, what? And she goes, no, that other word. And I thought about it and I looked at her and I said, clitoris? Oof. And she goes, yeah, what is that? Oof. And I looked at her and I said, you don't know what a clitoris is? And she goes, no, I've never heard of that before. Oof. So I grabbed the vulva puppet from the back room, started explaining to this woman in her 50s, 60s, as a 23-year-old, what a clitoris was. And then I said, purchase this cream, go home tonight, look in the mirror and put the cream on and see what happens. And she goes, wow, I had no idea this was a thing. So she leaves, she purchases the cream, and I just fucking broke down in tears. I was like, how the fuck did that just happen? How the fuck am like a 23-year-old explaining what a clitoris is to a woman in her 50s and 60s? And I swear to God, that day I told myself, when I become a therapist, when I become a coach, I'm going to make sure that every single vulva owner I work with knows the ins and outs of their vulva. Because this is absolute bullshit. Yeah, literally. The ins and outs. Because it is bullshit to me, right? And there's this added layer of culture that she was Spanish-speaking Latina from Latin America that just even it made me angry. It made me really sad. And it made me angry. Sad at the fact that she had been living her entire life not knowing what the most amazing part of her body was, which is the clitoris, and angry because it's not her fault. She is just part of a fucked up society that wants to disempower whoever is in it. And a really big part of the disempowerment process in our society is stripping us away from our sexual empowerment. So that's how it started. And that's why I'm very, very passionate about the Yoni gazing ceremonies that I do with my clients.
I love that. I mean, even when you were just telling that story, I was like, oof. And I totally, those feelings resonate with me. Angry and sad. That's what comes out for me as well. And I recently was doing a workshop in Turkey, which was like interesting to me. Like I'd never done it before. I didn't know what to expect. There was a wide range of like knowledge, experience, desire in the room. There were about 25 women. And then at the very, very end, a young woman came up to me and said something similar, like, I've never touched myself. I've never looked at myself. I haven't even looked in the mirror without my pants on, without my panties on. And I was like, ooh. Luckily she was in her 20s. And I can't imagine like she, without any support in her 50s, having had a lifetime of not connecting with her body. Even in her 20s, I was like sad for her that that's what she was coming from, and pissed as fuck because that's what was available to her. So I completely understand that. And I do love this idea of yoni gazing and having that as a thing that you kind of like do to empower women. So tell me about your ritual. Like, how do you go about doing that?
By the way, I'm not the only sex coach, sex therapist that does yoni gazing. There's several that have their own versions of this practice, but I've developed my own. So there are 4 steps to yoni gazing that I do with my one-on-one clients. And then there's 5 steps that I do with my workshops, my play parlors that I do with multiple people. So the 5 steps that I do. So the first one is an anatomy lesson, right? Because when we're yoni gazing, I want whoever's looking at their vulva to know what they're looking at and to know where to find it. Everyone I've worked with, everyone I've met has very like different knowledge levels of their vulvas. So some people will know everything. Some people will know some parts, and some people that I speak with just absolutely know nothing. So having an anatomy lesson really allows for whoever's about to yoni gaze for the first time to know, oh, okay, like this is what I'm looking for when I look at my own vulva. So the anatomy lesson consists of everything: outer lips, inner lips, urethra, clitoris, clitoral hood, and vagina, and understanding where all the different parts are. Also, having a clear understanding that the vulva is the most diverse part of the human anatomy, which means that no vulva is going to look the same, right? And it's very important to discuss that, because one of the reasons why vulva owners don't look at their own vulvas, one is because you have to be intentional to do it, right? It's not like penises where like you literally just look down at your penis and it's just in your face all the time, right? You need to be intentional about looking at your vulva. So that's one. And 2, because a lot of vulva owners are scared to see what their vulvas look like. They're scared that, is their vulva going to be ugly? Is their vulva, is it going to scare them? What are they going to find down there, right? And so that's a really big part of it. So yeah, so a full anatomy lesson is the first one.
Where do you think that narrative comes from?
Well, for one, I think it really depends. One for sure is pornography and how vulvas are viewed in pornography. And this is something that like people don't understand. And I say it over and over and over. Pornography is not real. Pornography is a performance, right? People that do pornography are professional pornography performers. And so a lot of individuals that do pornography will get work done to their bodies. Why? Because their bodies is their product as a porn performer, right? Getting surgeries, right? Oh my God, the word's escaping me right now. Vagioplasties?
Vagioplasty, yes.
Yeah. Is very common in the pornography world, right? Because there's a certain aesthetic that people want to achieve when it comes to the vulva. Something that a lot of my clients have, not a lot, but a few have confided in me also, has been past partners who've made comments about their vulvas, right? Someone telling them, oh, your vulva's not that pretty, or, oh, you have kind of dark skin in different parts of your vulva, right?
How dare you?
Yeah. When people think, I know, it's fucked up. When people think of a quote unquote pretty vulva, they think of a pink vulva, but vulvas come in all different colors, or the way that the lips protrude, right? That needs to be in a specific order in order for it to be quote unquote pretty. And if it's different than that, then it's considered quote unquote ugly, right?
And hairless, right?
Hairless. No pubic hair.
Yeah, which makes me think actually pink and hairless really sounds juvenile, which is kind of creepy. Now we're saying it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Grown women who aren't porn actors, don't tend to have like pink, pretty, hairless vulvas.
Well, but that's the thing. I think that it's okay to have your preferences. I'll keep it real. I love getting my Brazilians. I fucking love being completely hairless because oral sex feels better. I just feel a little more feminine. But I do enjoy pubic hair too. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is when that's the expectation. Right?
Sure.
Like if you have a conscious awareness that like, oh, my preference is hairless, that's different than being like hairless is the beauty standard that we should all strive for. You see the difference?
Sure,
and
of course. Yeah.
That's like the fucked up part of like a world in which we expect vulva owners to have a certain aesthetic of a vulva in order for it to be pretty or good enough or deemed as sexy. So yeah. Also, I think there's this other layer of the ways in which children are raised around sexuality and the verbiage that a lot of parents use, especially in like our cultures, like Latino cultures, where they'll say like, don't touch yourself, it's dirty. Right? That's dirty. Go clean your hands. It's dirty. Versus saying that's something you do in private versus public.
Sure.
And so that dirty mentality can also make you think, oh, my vulva is dirty. I'm dirty. If I touch myself, it's dirty, which definitely creates another layer of separation between ourselves and our bodies. Yeah.
Very sad. Very sad. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. There's other reasons why someone might not want to, someone might be scared. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like they're scared of looking at their own vulvas, some women. And that's sad to me. That is really sad when it's like, it's not even like I don't want to. I can even understand I don't want to. I'm like, okay, like sure, you do you, boo. But when you're scared at looking at your vulva, now I'm sad.
And that's most of the reasons why people don't do it is fear.
Yeah.
Fear and shame.
Yeah. Okay, so that was one. That was step one. What's the next?
So step 2 is a meditation and embodiment practice that includes orgasmic breathing. So after doing the anatomy lesson, I'll have my clients relax, lay down, sit up, whatever feels best for them. And then I take them through an experience that connects their mind and their breath with their yonis. So orgasmic breathing is the breath in which you harmonize your breath and contracting your Kegel muscles at the same time so that you can feel a connection to your yoni. And this is a wonderful opportunity for them to feel into their yonis before they're going to look at their yonis. So they learn about their yonis. Now they're going to feel into them. So we do some orgasmic breathing. I'll do like a visualization practice where I have them visualize a bright, warm light, them breathing in this bright, warm light all the way down to their yonis, and then them feeling into their yonis as they're contracting and releasing through their breaths, through orgasmic breathing.
So the Kegel muscles are the muscles that you use to like stop yourself from peeing, right?
Yes. So the muscles you stop yourself from urinating. So when you're peeing and then you want to like squeeze, and that. So if everyone can squeeze their Kegels right now, ready? Squeeze.
Yeah, go squeeze. I like making a face when I squeeze mine.
So we do that, and it harmonizes the body. That's the part 2. And then at the end of the meditation embodiment practice, I have them set an intention for the yoni gazing. So because everyone has different intentions when they do this. So the intention could be to learn something new, to feel more connected to my body, to get rid of the shame that I've been carrying for many years, to become best friends with my vulva, right? To ask for forgiveness, whatever it may be. Everyone has a different intention. So this is an opportunity for them to set that tone and that intention for themselves as well.
I love those intentions, by the way. There's some really like being besties. I talk on the show all the time, and I decided I was besties with my vulva like around 4 or 5. Like I have very clear memories of this, and that is when I tell people like we're besties. Like the reaction I get out of them, this idea that you can be like besties with your vulva is like really resonates with people, and I love that. That's such an awesome intention to set. I completely am full support of that intention. Also, like asking for forgiveness, that is deep. That is really deep.
Oh yeah. We go, this entire process is deep. There's nothing, I mean, I don't want to say there's nothing lighthearted about it. A lot of my clients have fun doing it, but it could be a very emotional and deep healing space. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. So we set an intention. What's coming next?
So that's part 2. Part 3 is now the I don't know. I was going to say vulva and gazing at the same time. The guzzing. So it's the vulva gazing part. So part 3 is I have them turn their cameras off, because it's just, this is them with them. I pull up the anatomy chart so that they have a reference. And then during the gazing, I have them grab a mirror, spread their legs open, and I walk them through this process. So the process is we look at our vulvas for their entirety, and then we slowly pick apart each part of the vulva. So we look at the clitoris, and we look at the clitoral hood, and then the inner lips, and then the outer lips, and then the urethra and the vagina, right? And as they're doing this, I encourage them to use their fingers, to play around, to dig around, to pay attention to any colors, textures, sizes that they find interesting, any beauty marks that they see. And throughout the entire process, I'm constantly reminding them, do not judge yourself. Come from a place of curiosity, not judgment. Curiosity, not judgment. And I've had a lot of people say it is so helpful when I say that, because a lot of individuals want to be mean and say, ew, that's ugly, or wow, I didn't like, that's gross, or oh, I didn't, and I always say, come from curiosity. Don't come from judgment. Don't judge your body. Just be curious about your body. And so the gazing, we walk each other through all of those different areas so they can be very clear. And sometimes individuals will have questions like, oh, I'm not sure if this is my clitoris, and so in situations like that, I'll say, okay, like you want to tap around. The most sensitive part of your vulva is the clitoris. So when you tap around with your finger, you'll notice, oh, if something feels more sensitive, that's it. Or like I explained to them, the clitoris has 2 legs that fold right underneath the clitoral hood to kind of guide them with that. On very rare occasions, sometimes my clients will straight up show me, like, can you just show me where my clitoris is? And they'll turn their cameras on. I'm like, yeah, let me show you, So it really just depends on everyone. But yeah, so that's the Yoni gazing portion, which is the actual looking at our vulvas together.
Sure. I love that. I can see how powerful that is. The thing that reminds me of, actually, I saw Madison Young doing a one-woman show in New York, and as a part of her show, it's a crazy epic show, and she's such she's such an amazing performer, and gets to this really extreme part where she inserts a clear speculum into her vagina and gets a flashlight and makes audience get in a line to look inside, like literally look inside her. And at the end of the show, she gives speculums out to the audience.
Oh, wow. That's
like
cool.
These are clear plastic speculums out to the audience. And when I saw the show, when it just like had this crescendoed at this place where she was like, and come and have a look with a flashlight. I was like at the front first of all, I was at the front of the line. I was like, hold on, I really want to see this. Just because I've never seen inside of a vagina before. And then when she was giving them out, I was like, yes, this makes so much sense. So there is like the next level from that if you want to get really intimate. And since then I've heard women, like, apparently it's a thing, like clear speculums are a thing. You can buy them, you can order them online, and people go to that like next level of looking inside themselves, which I think is absolutely like epic. But, let's start with the beginning. Let's just like look at the outside. But yeah, there's like a whole other level to that.
Yeah. And when we look at our vaginas, we look at our vaginal openings, because you can't look inside your vagina without a speculum.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people get confused, like, what's the vagina? What's the vulva? The vulva is the external part of the organ, and then the vagina is what's inside, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we look at the vulva, and then what comes next?
Yes, that's part 3. And then part 4 is we talk to our vulva.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So I give individuals an opportunity to say something to their vulvas. It could be whatever they feel inspired to say. And this tends to be a very, very powerful moment for many of them. So some individuals will choose to say something like, I love you, thank you, right? Words of gratitude. Some individuals will ask for forgiveness, right? For individuals that have had past sexual trauma, it's a very healing experience to be able to reconnect and, say, I'm so sorry that you went through so much. Like, thank you for being such a trooper. For others, it's more of a lighthearted situation where they're just like, hey, hi, nice to meet you. You know? So it really just depends on everyone's experience. Yeah, but just giving everyone an opportunity to say some words to their vulvas. And then the second piece of part 4 is allowing their vulvas to say something to them. So the prompts that I'll usually give is, if your vulva could tell a story, what would your vulva say? Or what do you intuitively feel that your vulva wants to tell you, right? And that's also a really powerful experience, because then they'll hear a lot of, like, I always say your vulva is the most intuitive part of your body, and they'll be surprised at how much their vulvas have to tell them. So speaking to their vulvas and then giving their vulvas an opportunity to speak back to them.
Yeah. What are some of the interesting, different, standout narratives have you heard from a vulva?
So I'll speak for myself, and then I can give you some that my clients, something that for like a long time, because most of the time when I do vulva gazing, I'm also looking at my own vulva. So I'm having the experience with my clients, and I'll ask my vulva, like, okay, what do you have to say to me today? And for a long time, my vulva kept saying, you need to be more selective with who you share me with. I need you to like be a little more selective. And that was kind of annoying, because I was like, like, why can't you just be happy with everyone I have sex with? Well, it's because I was choosing sexual partners that were not in alignment for a while. And I had to go through that process to understanding, like, okay, who is in alignment with me? What type of sexual partners do I want? And I noticed that since putting more intention into that, my vulva has been a lot more receptive and happy with who I've been choosing. And I can actually feel into her a lot more now. So like, if I'm about to have sex with someone, I can feel when my vulva is like, fuck yes, like, let's have sex with this person. Or like, my vulva's like, you know what, I'm not sure how I feel about this person. I literally can feel into her. So that was something that she would say to me for a long time before I got with the program, and was like, okay, let me like be a little more intentional about who I sleep with, right? So that's something that I would hear my vulva tell me often, right? But a few recurring themes that I've heard from clients have been, I would like for us to be closer. That's something that a lot of my clients hear, like, can we be best friends? Like, I would love for us to do this more often. A few others is, I would like for you to be comfortable touching me more. That's one that I've heard a few times, that their vulvas will say, like, oh, like, you can touch me. Like, I want you to touch me, you know? Yeah. Those are some recurring themes that I've heard. And then there's a really like wide ranges of different other answers that I hear. Like, some of them will just be simple, like, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, one time I remember I had a client who said that their vulva told them that they see all the work that they're putting into themselves, and that they're like, their vulva's really proud of them. I thought that was really sweet, right?
That is so sweet.
Or like, you're doing a great job, right? So yeah, it just depends on every person. But those are some things that I remember that like people have told me that their vulvas have said to them.
Beautiful. What an intimate and beautiful experience to be a part of. I know these are your classes, individuals and groups, and I mean, I find that with my own sessions, like this, so like being a part of some profound moments in people's lives is one of the reasons what I do. And I think just listening to your stories, the fact that you're holding those spaces, sharing this very intimate, profound moments with people, I can imagine that feeling just like warm, fuzzy, gooey, interesting, super curious.
Yeah, it is. It's really beautiful. And it's funny because sometimes I'll think to myself, like, oh, this is probably not going to hit hard for this person, or we'll see how this goes. And more often than not, it turns into an incredibly emotional and deeply healing experience, where that even takes my clients by surprise. They're like, oh my God, I didn't think I was going to cry. Or like, oh my God, I didn't think this was going to be so intense, right? I actually had a client who considered herself very like knowledgeable and very connected intuitively with her sexuality, and very sexually empowered. She just had a few things that she wanted to work through. And she was like crying during our session. And she was just like, wow, I didn't realize this was going to be so intense. So it doesn't matter like which knowledge level you come from. This can be a very beautiful and deeply healing experience for anybody.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So that was 4.
Yeah. And then in the fifth part, well, I guess you could say the fifth part could happen. There's a step 5, which happens in the ceremony. And then there's like a homework assignment that I give everyone afterwards. So the step 5 in the group settings is then we have open discussion about it in a group setting, because open discussion in a group setting where there's multiple people is so beautiful, because what ends up happening, like let's say you're in a room filled with 10 people and now you have an open discussion, is that people start ping-ponging back ideas and thoughts and feelings, and people start to resonate. And so there's this added layer of like, oh my God, my experience is not unique in the sense like we are all going through the same thing together. And it's a very intense moment too, where people can like relate to one another and be like, oh my God, I felt that too. Oh my God, like that resonates with me also. And be able to hear different people's stories and what came up for them. So that's the fifth part of the ceremony, is really like engaging in that group discussion, which could be very revealing and beautiful for many.
Beautiful. Again, one of the things that come up for me is what we say on the show a lot, which is inspiration and permission, right? And I can totally see a space held like that to be very inspiring. And because you're doing it in like good company, you're also doing it like giving each other permission to really go to those places and feel those feelings and find your way around and express those feelings in this very supportive, nurturing sisterhood space. So I love that. It's like inspiration and permission all over it. So I absolutely love that. Yeah. And then homework assignment.
And the homework assignment is to write a love letter to your labia.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah. And that's usually like a really beautiful experience for many, because then they get to personify their vulvas and tell their vulvas everything that they've been wanting to tell them. Again, whether that be asking for permission or expressing gratitude. Like I always say, like, you know, our bodies, we have a relationship with our bodies, and our bodies, we take a lot of what our bodies do for granted. Like when you think about the fact that your heart beats all the time without you thinking about it, that's pretty wild. You know what I mean? Or, you know, that your vulva gives you pleasure when you have sex. Like I always tell my clients, like your vagina is where your partner derives pleasure during penetrative sex. This is how you connect with your partners on a deeper level. This is where menstrual blood comes out of. This is literally the place where the spirit world and the physical world unite. Right? Like through childbirth. So when you think about all of the special and most beautiful roles that our vulvas and vaginas play, I mean, it's ridiculous that we don't celebrate her more than we do.
Of course.
Our vulvas are fucking kick-ass.
Yeah.
They're dope.
They are. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and the reason we don't is is the patriarchy, right? It's a system that's suppressing it. But I think, I do wonder, like, I do wonder this, like, at what point we will stop being in awe of a vulva. And I'm not saying that because I have one, but really, like, when you do everything that you just said, like, it is everything that you've said and more. And I don't understand at what point we stop being in awe with her. Just like, because when I think about it, that is what comes up for me, like awe. And again, I don't mean literally mine, but just like vulvas in general, vaginas in general. I'm just in awe of the design of what it can do, of what it is, you know, and I don't know what happened, like what could have happened that is so systemically oppressive and systemically fraught that we've lost awe, the feeling of awe when it comes to vulvas. It honestly blows my mind.
I mean, let's break it apart. You have a literal orgasm machine that just exists in between your legs. Like it has no other purpose in your life than to give you pleasure, which is the clitoris. Like, hello, thank you, Jesus, right? You have a part inside, right, that you, if, you know, ideally, like if there's a heterosexual situation, right, like you have sex with the penis that secretes a liquid inside of you that can possibly turn into literal human life. You can literally create human life through your vagina. Like the semen goes in and a baby pops out 9 months later. I mean, that is fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. Like urine comes out of there, which is great. Menstrual blood comes out of there, which cleans out your systems and regulates your hormones. I mean,
it has its own climate. It has its own ecosystem.
It's pH balance. It's self-cleaning. You can like, it does its own thing. It takes care of itself. Like, cool. Thanks. You know?
Totally. You know, and the spiritual part of it that you mentioned as well, like that's where the life force lives, and that's where
whether you want to have kids or not, like I don't want to have kids, but just the fact that like I have the organs that can make kids if I wanted to. Like, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when you take away the word, like, let's not use children or kids, but like human life. Like, so like, you know, I've been here with my mom the last few months because I'm staying in LA for a few months this time. And one day it just dawned on me, like I was touching her hand and I was like, I looked at her and I said, Mom, my entire body came out of you. And she goes, yeah, I literally created you. I was like, my skin, my bones, my blood are yours. And she goes, yeah, they're mine and your dad's. She's like, that's all me. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, what the fuck? That's fucking crazy. And we don't talk about how insane that is, like how cool it is, you know? Like my mom just literally popped me out and here I am, a full grown human being. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I always question that first line in the Bible, right? God created man in his own image, right? That's the first line.
No, vulva owners create man in their own image. That's what I say, we are gods.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what, when I hear that, I'm like, do you not mean her image? Because really there's only one side of this that creates life. Like if we're talking about God and creating life, and then you're going to create something in your own image that creates life, that is a woman. I don't know why we're saying God created man in his own image. Like I know, of course I'm a woman, I'm going to have this point of view, but I do feel that's objectively true.
Oh, yeah, it is. I think that like throughout time, men have just been really jealous of all the cool things that women can do. And so this process of suppression comes from a place of actual inferiority and fear of like women, of vulva owners' powers, right?
Sure.
Oh, fuck yeah, 100%. It's, I mean, I hear it all the time also, like when I used to work at the sex shop and men would come in and literally 90% of the store was designed for vulva owners, you know, like toys. Like, I mean, there's just, I mean, look at the variety of toys that you can create for vulva owners. And then like 10%, or maybe not even, like 5% way in the corner was like the men, like the penis section. And it was just like, you know, a few strokers and like a penis pump or whatever. And guys would all the time be like, man, so jealous of you guys. I wish I had a vagina. I wish I had a vulva. Like, look at all these cool things you guys can use. Like, we're so basic, you know?
Right.
I mean, honestly, to any vulva owner that's listening to this, if you have not taken the time to really connect with your vulva, I just hope that you know how incredibly lucky you are to have been born with one. And I also just want to say the reason why I keep saying vulva owners is because gender and genitalia are not one and the same, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And there are men that have vulvas, there are women that have penises. And so that's why I keep saying vulva owners. But if we just really take the time to embrace our genitalia, especially if you're a vulva owner, I mean, it just makes life 10 times better, and your sex life. Sex life and your life 10 times better.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I have a question for you. How do you feel about yoni gazing with a partner?
Oh, okay, great. Actually, I'm happy that you said that. So for my clients that are in relationships or that like have someone they regularly have sex with, another part of the homework that I give them is to do a show and tell with their partners. So,
nice.
So it's really cute. So I'll have them like open their legs and be like, okay, so this is my clitoris. This is what it does. This is my clitoral head. And I tell them like, go through all of the different parts and teach your partner what you just learned. And every single person has told me this. They said they've had so much fun doing it, that their partner was asking questions, that like it became this really fun thing. Or like they'll pop quiz their partner and be like, okay, where's the clitoris? You know, where's the inner lips? Where is this? And it turns into like this really beautiful experience. So I think a show and tell is a lot of fun, and yoni gazing is a lot of fun too. If you're in a relationship where there's two vulvas, that you can show and tell for one another, right? So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this for sure.
Yes. I can also imagine it being quite intimate. I feel like it's like the idea. I mean, I can definitely fun and games, and I can also imagine it being super intimate, because I would even imagine it's being more intimate than, say, like having sex. Because like I could hook up with somebody and have a great time, but like I don't know if I want to do yoni gazing with just anyone.
I joke around that a lot of what I have my clients do, it's like I'll have them do something that they think is one thing, but then it turns out to be another. So I'm happy that you said that, because that's often what will happen. Oh, that sounds like a fun, like, yeah, let's do the show and tell. And then they're like, holy shit, that was really intimate. Like, that was a really beautiful connecting moment. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But the thing is, I don't like to say that right off the bat because it scares and intimidates people. So I always really love to like give these experiences to my clients thinking they're doing one thing, and then they gain so much more out of it, right? Like the Yoni gazing, like, oh, we're going to look at our vulvas. Okay, that sounds simple. But then once they do the whole process, they're like, holy shit, so much more came out of this. So yeah. Or I always say even sex coaching almost has nothing to do with sex. Like I always joke around that, like I reel people in with sex coaching, and then I'm like, just kidding, we're going to talk about our feelings. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I love that. Good hook, good clickbait. And then you're like, let's talk about our feelings. Yeah. Because that's where the erotic lives, actually.
Exactly.
So, okay, how about this then? So we agreed that doing it with a partner is it's a good, healthy, intimate, connecting thing to do. How would we even bring that up with a partner?
Yeah. So if you're working with someone, right, and you could say, I mean, that's the beauty of having a coach, is that it's literally your homework. So you could be like, okay, so my homework this week is to do a show and tell with you, right? So that's one. But if you're not working with a coach, if you're obviously, the vast majority of people are not in that situation, you could say, listen, I heard this episode with Curious Fox with Jocelyn and Effy where they talked about vulva gazing, and I really want to try the show and tell with you. Would you be open to me showing you my vulva and teaching you about it? So that's one way to do it. I'm guessing everyone that's listening to this will be able to say that because you're listening to this already.
This is why every time we say this, we're like, this is why we make these episodes. Like, use these episodes to your partner and be like, I heard this thing randomly just on the podcast. And then like bring it up.
Like, let's try it. Yeah, exactly. So that's how, or like, let's say that you've never listened, like, let's just say that it's something that is completely new. I mean, just say it like that. Like, hey, like I'm learning about my body and I would really love for us to explore this more. Would you be open? Or maybe even making it more about you than your partner. So saying, I'm learning, I'm taking the steps to learn more about my body. And what would really support me in getting to know my body more is to have this show and tell experience with you. Would you be open to me presenting my vulva to you and teaching you what I am learning about myself? So something like that.
I love that. Okay. What if you're a partner and you want to have a show and tell from your partner and actually ask for the show and tell to say, listen, I want to learn about your vulva. How would you go about that? Again, I heard this episode. I heard I had Jocelyn and Effy on Curious Fox, and they said I could ask for this thing. That you could use that.
Yeah. So you're saying if the person who doesn't have a vulva is asking the vulva owner,
right? Even if they do have a vulva, but they're asking a partner to. They could also have a vulva, right? But they're asking a partner to kind of do a show and tell on themselves.
So two things are coming up for me. Okay. So the first one, through the process of being a coach and my own personal development journey, one of the biggest, most important pieces of important information that I've learned about humans is that we cannot impose transformation, change, and personal development on anyone. People have to go through their own process and come to a point where they realize, I need help. Something needs to shift. I need support in this area of my life. So the reason why that came up for me right now is because in a situation like this, you can run into a situation where your partner may not be ready to explore themselves. They may not be in that place where they're like, oh, I'm ready to like learn about what's in between my legs. That might not be something that they're ready for. Right. So this is why, like, it's funny, actually. My dad yesterday was telling me how he met this man, and this man has a son who, I don't know, is unmotivated. And my dad was like, oh, my daughter is a coach. Like, let me ask my daughter if she'll talk to him. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, that kid needs to reach out to me, not his father. Right. Because what's that going to do? Like, oh, your dad told me to talk to you about your problems. Like, that's not, it's not going to create anything. Like that person needs to come to their own conclusions on their own. Right. So anyway, so that's what came up to me. and then the second thing, if a person does approach it, I would say to do it in a very gentle manner and perhaps to do it from a place of like, let's do this together. Right. So I've learned that like really learning about our bodies together could be a really intimate experience. Would you be open to doing some research on your vulva and us kind of like taking it apart and looking at it together? So that way it's like a fun activity we're doing together. And it also takes away the pressure from like, can you teach me about your body? Because here's the thing, not everyone knows about their own bodies, and that could feel really intimidating, right? To be like, oh shit, you want to learn about my vulva? Fuck, I don't even know anything about my vulva. What the fuck am I going to teach you? Right? So when you do it as a team, like, oh, this is a fun activity we can do together, it removes a lot of that pressure.
I love that. Sure. Yeah, no, that's very true. And definitely there are a million reasons why people might not be ready to explore, like show their vulvas in that very intimate, open way. You know, trauma, stigma, taboo, not knowing yourself, everything that you've said. So I think those are great ways to sort of ask for it from a partner. Maybe even do, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I feel like that came up for me. Like that's a nice playful way.
For sure.
Yeah, like a playful way of saying, hey, like, can we do this thing where you show me yours and I'll show you mine. Like I'll show you what works for me and I want to know what works for you and like tell me. So I feel like that would be a fun way as well. So
100%. That
yeah. And anything in any other way, I think that in general, that idea of first and foremost discovering yourself and really taking time and building a relationship with this. When I say awesome, I don't mean like awesome, cool, but like awesome, like awe-inspiring part of your body, having built a relationship with her and really connecting with her. And then for the right people in your life that you feel close enough that you want to do this with, sharing that with your partners, I think is a game changer. I think it's almost essential for like a healthy, wholesome, thriving sex life. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, it is 100%. Yeah, because it puts you in a position where you have to have a conversation, which is what most people, this is like, one of those like, I'm going to have you do this, but really it's going to spark this because a lot of people don't even talk about sex with their partners. So this is not only going to be a fun activity, but it also opens the doors for communication, you know, for asking questions, for engaging in that type of dialogue that may not be existent in their relationship.
Yeah. I love that.
I guess the only thing that I would like to say is that you don't need to do a vulva gazing ceremony to look at your vulva. If you feel so inclined today, go take out a mirror and spread your legs open, Google vulva anatomy and do it yourself, right? It's completely free. All it takes is a little bit of courage in a mirror, right? And, or even your phone, if you want to use your phone's camera, right? Whatever you need to look at yourself. But if you feel like this is something that you're ready to do and you want to do it on your own, it's really a simple practice. If you would like some guidance, you can go on my website, jocelynsilva.com. And I actually have a pre-recorded vulva gazing ceremony that you can purchase for $39 USD on my website. And I'll guide you through the entire ceremony. So you have that. And sometimes I do them virtually or live. And you can find all the information on my Instagram at I am Jocelyn Silva.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that because I think resources are really important. And I love that you're saying that it is available because you have a vulva, you have a mirror, you have a phone, a little bit of courage. You know, Google has all the information you'll ever need. You can definitely do that. That is available to you. Having said that, I have done things like this in community. I have done things like this in ceremony and in ritual. And there is another extra layer to that really helps you and supports you and encourages you and celebrates the thing that you're doing. So yes. Choose your own adventure always. Just adding to that, I actually think maybe like see all of the above. Like go and have a look at yourself today. Like if you haven't done it, when this episode ends, put your headphones down, grab a mirror, grab a light if you need to, and have a look. Like, I think across the board. And then consider, how do I nurture this relationship? How do I get to know her more? How do I, find that extra courage, extra celebration, extra connection? And I think you do that in doing it in community, doing it in groups, doing it in health spaces. So I think I would say like all of the above. Have a look straight away and then do some research and figure out how else you'd want to do it. And I love talking to you, and I think the spaces that you hold are amazing. So you're definitely like at the top of my list as an option. And there are a bunch of others, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, there are a bunch of other options out there. Choose your own adventure, but choose something like engage, fall in love with your vulva.
Yes. Oh my God, please fall in love with your vulva.
Exactly.
Your vulva, fall in love with your vulva, because you know why? Your vulva is already in love with you.
Yes, I love it. What a soundbite. What a soundbite. It's so true. It is so true. And also, if you're not going to fall in love with your vulva, how can anybody else fall in love with your vulva? So like be besotted, deeply, madly in love with your vulva because she already loves you back. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Beautiful.
Yeah. And you didn't earn her love.
Right.
She loves you because she's a part of you. She's you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. Love that. What a great way to end. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Always an amazing conversation. I truly mean it. It's great. It's engaging. It's informative. It's fun. Thank you again for coming on the show, and hope that you'll come back soon.
Thank you. I had so much fun too. I always love discussing this. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
To connect with Jocelyn Silva, jump on Instagram at I am Jocelyn Silva or TikTok at I am Jocelyn Silva, and learn more about her coaching by visiting her website, jocelynsilva.com. If you'd like to listen to more episodes with Jocelyn, check out the new episode drop email from Curious Fox in your inbox, while you'll find the show notes, links mentioned on the show, along with other episode suggestions that we think you might just love. If you're not getting those, you are missing out. So jump on our website, wearecuriousfoxes.com, and sign up to the newsletter. And of course, while you're there, check out the blog posts and the resources and the reading lists and the recommendations and more. To weigh in on the topic or connect with other Foxy listeners, head to Facebook and join our Facebook group at We Are Curious Foxes. Please share our podcast with a friend, quickly rate the show, leave a comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcast. Or connect with the show however it makes sense on your favorite podcast app. This will take a few seconds of your time, will have a huge impact for us. To support the show, join us on Patreon at We Are Curious Foxes, where you can find mini episodes, podcast extras, and over 50 videos from Educator-led workshops. Go to patreon.com/We Are Curious Foxes. And let us know that you're listening by sharing a comment, a story, or a question by emailing us or sending us a voice memo to listening@wearecuriousfoxes.com. This episode is produced by Effy Blue, with help from Yamur Erkeshi. Our editor is Nina Pollock, who we should be writing love letters every week. Our intro music is composed by Dev Saha. We are so grateful for their work, and we're grateful to you for listening. As always, stay curious, friends. Curious Fox Podcast is not and will never be the final word on any topic. We solely aim to encourage curiosity and provide a space for exploration through connection and story. We encourage you to listen with an open and curious mind, and we'll look forward to your feedback. Stay curious, friends.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.